yeah, they've been a good side for the last 3 years now, and I'm genuinely quite glad that they've actually managed to win the league this time.
Well, the next step, of course, is rates in this competition, which is absolutely fabulous for the Philippines champions. They make only one change, and it's a super one. Super Herrera takes the place of Joshua Groman, who misses out, unfortunately. Competition. There's Groman, who's been relegated to the bench, and there too is a very familiar name to Simon McMenemy, James Younghusband.
Yeah, very similar to Paolo. I spoke to James a little bit earlier on today just to find out a little bit about the team. It seems like they're unchanged other than Super dropping in. And I think that change is mainly due to the fact Super just a little bit more experienced. You know, they both got to get the confidence to get a little bit higher. A lot of good things to say about Josh.
Well,
very good defender. Will
once
be
again in goal for Ceres United. We talked about those players.
We have the figure of
miss out on this. Paulo Sergio,
who has been put on the bench, but of course the coach in itself is actually Stefano Cucuruga, the man who won the title last year.
Al-Yubi
is in charge of his 50th game for Bali United, searching for his 30th win. They warmed up for this match by winning over the weekend last Friday against Barito by 2-1. And those two players who scored in that game, Lilipali and Lerby, start this match ahead of Spasijevic and Platier. So all set and ready to go then for the Group F fixture, and the Group G fixture, I should say, in this AFC Cup tie between Ceres and Bali United. Ceres only have one win in their last 5 AFC Cup games, only one win in their last 4 home matches. So it's going in order to ensure that they qualify first in this group. Only the top place teams are guaranteed of progress into the next stage. And in the ASEAN zone, it's a long drawn passage all the way through to the finals of this competition.
Đấu của chúng ta đã bắt đầu rồi. Nếu như các bạn vẫn còn đang loay hoay không biết đặt cược trận bóng này tại đâu, thì chúng tôi xin trân trọng giới thiệu FB88.tv. Đây là trang nhà cái uy tín nhất hiện nay, đứng top tại diễn đàn cá cược số 1 châu Á Asian Bookie. Hãy nhanh tay truy cập FB88.tv, cược và nhận thưởng lên tới 2 triệu đồng. Nạp rút tiền chỉ trong khoảng 5 đến 10 phút. Phải nói là siêu nhanh dành cho anh em. FB88.tv xin chào mừng các bạn.
I'm sure we'll see a few loose passes early on, just getting used to the plastic surface that Bali don't play on too often.
Long ball, trying to play it behind the defense once again for Porteria. And Stefan Schrock's made his run already and used as a decoy. Is that going to be handball? It is, says the referee. So an early free kick in a very dangerous position. Stefan Schrock position.
Interesting, Mendy starting wider on the left with Marion through the middle. Normally that's the other way around. Normally Mendy's the battering ram. He takes up positions within the 2 centre-backs and occupies them while everyone else runs off him. But he's starting slightly wider tonight, so might be quite an interesting tactical change from Coach Risto.
They are so fluid. It's so interchangeable. Those two alongside Porteria, who slots into the left once in a while too, just to mix things up a little bit, and maybe it's little shift in formations just to confuse the big guy from Brazil, Willian, at the back for Bali. Nonetheless, a free kick right now for Ceres. A chance for an early goal with Super up there, hunting for his first goal in the AFC Cup since 2018. Right man to take it as well, Stefan Schrock, who is appearing in his 30th game in this competition. He's just lifted it inside, and it's easy saved in the end by Nadio.
It's a testing delivery that though. See how much whip he got on that ball, just taking it away from the keeper nice and strong early on, nice and confident, just punching that way. Good distance on the punch as well.
And a goalkeeper who has got very good memories of this stadium and this pitch. Played here, of course, at the SEA Games last year. He won the silver medal, kept 3 clean sheets in 6 matches as Indonesia finished second to Vietnam. It's the Indonesia side now on the counter-attack, but it's well kept out by Super. Although with a easy long clearance. Picked up by Willian. He's going to eat up all that all day long in the air. Maybe that's a reason why you need Mendy up there, just to challenge him physically. Otherwise, it's almost an unfair fight between Willian and Marinon, who picks up the ball and finds Mendy. Porteria in acres of room on the outside if he delivers it. Well, the idea was there. Not so much the execution, though.
Yeah, it looks like they're looking to try and switch the ball quite often, try and drag Bali around, try and open up that defence. Won't be too happy with that opener, though. I'm sure he'll get better from here.
Ricky Fadrin, one club man, left full back. At the throw, looking for runners up front. Time taken out straight away. Lerby it was, put himself about. Stefan Schrock with boots a little too high. Fadil Sausu, who had an extraordinary season last year, included in the best 11 in the Indonesian league.
He has a wonderful left foot. I mean, really, you pick anyone out anywhere on the pitch with his left foot. His right foot, he swings it, he falls over, but his left foot, outstanding. It really is.
Leo, as you're talking about, a man who is so experienced, 37 in July, in his 10th club now in the Indonesian league, at the top level for a very, very long time. Here is Super Herrera, starting his very first AFC Cup game this year. It's Bali United trying to make themselves very organised and compact, which is very un-Bali-like. It is working in the first 5 minutes at least. They're forcing Ceres backwards to their goalkeeper.
Yeah, they've obviously worked a little bit on that. Not happy to just let Ceres play across the back. You see Lillapalli just taking the opportunity to split the two centre-backs. Once they decided to play to the left, Lillapalli split, trying to put pressure, trying to win the ball back. Had to go back to the goalkeeper. Quite smart, just not allowing them to build up too much.
Super chased down by Lerby.
You can see Lerby again just trying to shut off that split pass, trying to keep them in one area so they can go and press them.
Villanueva, who is usually more accustomed to playing down the left-hand side, at times at left full-back as well. Rustiness on the part of a Super, perhaps.
Not so super there.
Rolled ball to Mendy. He might take some getting used to. So you're talking about Simon. He's used to playing right down the middle and just being shifted to the flanks. Might take some getting used to in the early minutes of this game.
I think we'll see him switching over. I think we'll see Marion dropping in there at certain points during the game and Mendy going back forward. He's definitely someone who leads the line, not so much a wide player or a winger. There's a bit of a loose pass there, gives OJ a little bit of space to attack.
Not the best of passes though by Proteria. It's easily picked up at the end by Willian. Ball kept alive once again from Super. It's pretty scrappy in the opening 6 minutes of this game, which suits Bali fine, because that Ceres machine hasn't gone chugging along just yet, going through its gears.
Well, they'll be a lot more used to this surface than Bali will, that's for sure. The amount of games that are played on Rizal Moore, it's a good job it's plastic, because there wouldn't be any grass left, the amount of games that get played there, I can tell you.
You'd have to say it's very well done as well. I remember last year, the Southeast Asian Games, there was a horrible weather that hit them, and somehow the pitch managed to survive all the way through to the grand finals in itself.
Yeah, not so much fun when it's... I played a couple of games there at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 35-degree heat playing on plastic. The heat comes at you from above and he comes at you from below as well. It's not an enjoyable experience, I can tell you.
Run from deep by Stefan Schrock. He makes a lot of those in a game. 21 assists last year for Stefan Schrock. It's a record in the PFL. We're just winning for fun, without losing a single game last year in the Philippines Football League. Scored a total of 129 goals, Ceres, in 2019. Yet, the one they crave for most in this competition, they were knocked out in the semi-finals. Picked out easily. Chance for Lerby to chase on this one. That's what he's been put there to do. Run as much as possible, disturb that defense, which looked pretty unsteady in the last game against Quang Ninh. Mendy told to keep this in play. Extremely well. Oh, it's just gone out.
It's unlucky there. I thought he was going to get to that one. But there is, you mentioned it earlier, there is definitely a gulf in the Philippines League, you know, and this is something that people have to understand, and really is. Ceres have done a lot for Philippines football in that they've managed to get to the latter stages of AFC competition. They've represented the country, you know, at levels that people never thought that a Filipino team could get to. But the difference between them and, for example, someone like Kaya, half of the team is funded by the academy. That's how Kaya is put together. It's a very family-orientated team. There is no rich guy there just putting his hand in his back pocket. Not true of Ceres. It comes from a family who run the bus companies, pretty much the biggest bus company in the country. Put a lot of money into that team. That's why we see guys like Marianne and Schrock quite content to stay there. You know, their salary is quite comfortable to live in the Philippines on a beautiful island. But obviously, what's good about these guys is they put it in, they work together and they work hard and win when it matters. So they've been able to maintain that high level despite what is quite a comfortable living style. You know? Fair play to them for doing so. But make no mistake, these are good players that could play in a lot of leagues around the world.
It's exactly what you said earlier on, isn't it? A double-edged sword for them. And a lot of countries, you'd say that the operation was successful, but the patient died. Somehow, they still haven't found the success needed yet in this competition. And it's going to be a big year as well for Philippines football. Top team in the Filipino League this year would qualify directly for the Asian Champions League next year. So it's another one to look out for. I'm sure Ceres would be basking in that competition. You know, a lot of teams who won't be very comfortable playing on this pitch when it comes to the Asian Champions League as well.
No, and at home at Panard Stadium, I mean, that's a difficult place to go. They don't often drop too many points there, and on their run into making the Asian Zone final, a couple of years ago, they were taking Middle Eastern teams there and doing well against them. They were taking Asian teams from all over and dealing with them at home at Panard. It's a difficult place to go. It just doesn't... The surrounding area, the stadium is nice, the surrounding area doesn't talk professionalism, so it's quite difficult to keep that professionalism level when you want to go on a beach and just relax, you know?
Bali United have done well enough so far to shut shop. But how long can they ensure that this Ceres team doesn't move further forward and what has been just sideways at the moment in midfield, which they have dominated, but Bali just happy to sit back and let them play those square passes without really putting anything incisive in the offensive third.
Well, we just saw Fami there. He's the guy that's come in from Melbourne for this game, and you'll recognise him for his flash of blonde hair, synonymous last season with a team called Pasella, who he was one of their most dangerous players to deal with. Very quick, very good dribbler, very direct, a little bit like OJ for Ceres. Very good player, and got a good move to the champions, and is trying to establish himself in the team. So he's got a great opportunity to do that tonight with Melbourne missing.
It's very much part of the Indonesian factory, isn't it? All their wingers, very flashy, very quick. And you should know that, Simon.
Yes. If I don't know that, then there's a bit of a problem.
Here's Villanueva. Well, sometimes with the atmosphere being closed doors, it can be pretty flat in the opening stages. The team looking for some sort of impetus and really a player to galvanize them. There's nothing at the moment in the sense of urgency or purpose. That pass right through the middle. No channels open by Bali United as Ceres continue playing their football around in pretty patches, but it's all in this region. Nothing further forward. Maybe there is now. It's very well won belatedly, and a chance now as Alayub puts one forward. Lerby's inside the penalty box if they find him, finally joined by another teammate. It's angles finally cut out. Alayubi manages to actually just dink one inside and wins the throw. So in a flash, Simon, they show what they're made of, Bali, where they go on the counter-attack very quick and can be very dangerous too.
Yeah, currently very well organised defensively, not allowing space between the lines that Ceres like to play, and they like to play give and goes. And we just saw a quick counter-attack with Fami leading to Lillipali. A bit of contact in the box now. Fami a little bit optimistic with that one. I don't think he's going to get away with that.
Gavin Kwan really had to arch his body back in order to carve out a cross, which he couldn't in the end, but it's still Bali United ball. Minagishi usually loves galloping forward, but we haven't seen much of him in that direction.
Well, both sides were Ceres. Both their left back and right back are certainly not conventional left back, right backs. They've both played higher up the pitch for other clubs in the league, and since coming to Ceres with the wealth of talent they have in those forward positions, have had to adapt to playing a full-back position. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on defensively. Attack-wise, we know all about them, but can they defend? Can they do the job up against what is certainly in Rahmad here? He's greased lightning in a straight-line Rahmad, as we've seen in previous games.
Sean Kane in his third year at the club. as Muller rolls it out. He may be trying to just allow Bali to come out of their shells before they spring that long ball forward. However, they don't play it right, and it's very good work by Fahmi Al-Ayyoubi.
Well, there's no missing him, that's for sure, is it? You can pretty much tell which one's Fahmi from a mile away. Well, he's known for that in Indonesia.
Gavin Kwan probably has been top of his game, one of the best right backs in the Indonesian league for the longest time. Half effort was snapped at goal very quickly by Lily Pali. First real chance of the game arriving after 13.5 minutes.
It's good to see both teams committing to a press, not just sitting back and allowing the other team to play. Both going high up the pitch. That takes organisation, a little bit of bravery. That defensive line staying higher, allowing the midfield and the strikers to go that bit higher and press centre-backs. Good to see both teams doing it, but they're both kind of nullifying each other a little bit at the minute.
The game as quiet as the atmosphere at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. Just needs something to spark it to life. Gavin Kwan doing a good job at the moment on Stefan Schrock and gang, especially Minagishi. Not allowing the Japanese-born Filipino to actually move anywhere close to that byline, which he loves attacking. Kane having to go all the way back to Muller. Super. Maniata just in front of him. So really marshalling things with Orawara side by side with him. That's a touch on by Marinon. It's got to come very deep in order just to get involved with this. Supposed to be playing as the main striker, but look at that little transformation at switch now already, because Mendy has gone to that central striker's role. And Marinon in that deeper role just behind him as a second striker. It's a good pace shown here. He's growing some wheels on heels. Fajrin, but in the end, ball's just stripped off him by Kane rather easily. It's actually Rahmat. Talked about how lightning quick he can be. He certainly showed it there. It's a turn of pace.
He's a very fast player. I mean, he's almost too quick sometimes. He goes without the ball and doesn't take the ball with him. You know, but make no mistake, that guy for counter-attacks is a real threat. He's that fast. You put the ball 30 yards in front of him and he's there before it bounces. It's very, very fast individual.
He's had a very good start to the season, having scored 2 already. It's dangerous, but they play it out in handsome fashion. Bali, but it's a very good press here by Ceres. And in the end, it was Tupamahu who put a ball in behind the defense. Minagishi had to watch because there was Al-Ayyoubi just behind him.
Well, it looks like they're definitely trying to focus on playing down wide areas. I'm sure they know as much as I do in that both fullbacks are not conventional fullbacks, so targeting them maybe as a possible weakness in the Ceres defensive line. Trying to use the pace of Rahmat and Fahmi on the other side. And Fahmi on the other side, yeah.
Willian receiving the ball from Fadil. This is Ricky Fajrin. Surely it's going to be offside. No, the flag didn't go up. Lerby, it looked as if he had been behind Super for a longest time, but the flag didn't go up at all. So probably the left full-back Minagishi was playing him onside. Villanueva. Only one shot in the game so far. It has come from Bali. It was well wide by Lily Pali. Nothing at the moment as an attacking force from Ceres, and you'd have to say after 17 minutes it's well done to the Bali boss for doing his homework on the Ceres side. Odawara
doing very well to stop the balls through the middle. Every time a player gets on the ball, a player is tasked with going out and putting pressure, not giving him space, not allowing him to look up, trying to keep his head down, and not allowing any space between those lines. That's where Ceres can really be dangerous, just sitting in behind the midfield and getting it into feet, getting it back again, pulling defenders around. But Bali just not giving them the space they want.
Maniata. Ball took a little bit of a deflection before it went to Mendy, then lost possession of it, and Al-Ayyoubi's broken clear is going to be clipped, and it's going to be a free kick to Bali. couple of situations that we've seen already in this game. Simon of Minagishi actually moving forward and then forced on a retreat due to some very tight defending. And you got the likes of Fahmy and Rahmat on the other side breaking. There's one eye watching them as well, just zip past you just like that.
Yeah, and that's a tactic I'm sure Coach Teko will be aware of. He'll look to push Fahmy high, he'll look to push Rahmat high, just to make sure those fullbacks don't come on and give them extra players when it comes to keeping the ball. A little bit of cat and mouse between them, I'm sure. Rahmat goes too high, then he's going to open up space. If he drops too low, then he's going to have that player come onto him as well. So, yeah, the fullbacks will be playing little cat and mouse games with each other. How high do they go without giving too much away?
Fadil easily just cushioning the ball into the path of Ricky Fajrin. Chance now to look for someone. Nori. It's a very clever pass indeed to Rahmat. Once again trying to use his pace to just burn past the fullback Kane. It's fortuitously found its way to Ricky Fajrin. Back to Rahmat. Fajrin getting involved in this. It is pretty scrappy at the moment. And Stefan Schrock, whenever he touches the ball, there's a little bit of class exuded, but he doesn't have time on it because a foul's already been given away. Free kick to Bali United. Well, they will be pretty happy with the scrap that's been going on here in the opening minutes of this. Yellow card confirmation, Maniot. It won't be the last.
Good player, Maniot. Certainly one of those players that could play in most leagues around. Was in the Thai Premier League for a couple of seasons, has recently just come back to Ceres. He certainly needs to get on the ball a bit more if Ceres are going to start launching attacks. He is someone who can grab the game by the scruff of the throat and drive them forward.
Well, the 1.94 meter Brazilian Willian is inside the penalty box. Once again, the flag didn't go up. It's going to be a corner. Ceres players just looked at the assistant referee accusingly. And his flag stayed down for the longest time.
They're hoping for an offside call there, but very close.
He talked about that cultured, delightful left foot of Fadil. It's going to be here on display now.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx him, but he usually gets his deliveries very, very much on target. Very dangerous from a dead ball.
Well, with Spasijevic not around, Williams the only target to aim for. It's gone near. A chance now for that smack and goal, which is blocked out by Schrock. Mendy. It's an important touch by Alayubi because the break was on for Ceres. Schrock tried to keep it alive, and I think he did because the assistant referee didn't flag at all. Bali, though, have the ball back. Gavin Kwan once again trying to lob that ball behind the defense. Chaz looks vulnerable at times, especially in that last match against Quang Ninh. Can be susceptible to pace. We saw last year in the ASEAN Zone semi-finals.
You can see Lerby in the middle there working very hard to try and split those centre-backs. Just something we mentioned a little bit earlier. It just makes it a little bit easier for teams to press. If they can cut off the option to switch the ball, then it means they have to play down the line. It becomes predictable. It means that then Bali can go and press the ball.
It's a magnetic touch. It always is when it comes to Stefan Schrock. He's somehow managing to carve something out of nothing in terms of that cross, but was easily defended in the end by Ricky Fajrin. Kane, it's a nothing ball to Poteria. Gave him no chance at all. Halfway through this first half, still in need of an inspiration in this game, especially from Ceres. Super.
Great touch, OJ.
Poteria has got support inside the penalty box. Couldn't find any sort of elevation though in that cross. Odawara, a little too deep, disappointing from him. Apologizes straight away. Kashi Odawara, who really got their campaign going in 2020 with that opening goal against Prakan Reach Svareng. who are playing at the moment as well in this group against the only side that have yet to win in this competition, and that's the Vietnamese team, Quang Ninh.
Pick his first challenge, picking up a yellow card there. Referee not allowing too much contact at all. Just gets away from him a little bit, and he's late.
He's complaining that there was a little touch on him by Fahmi Al-Ayoubi that forced him down in the first place. So there's 2 already in the referee's books from Ceres, so they'll have to watch. And remember, for Ceres, after this, next 3 matches in this very, very tight Group G will all be away from home. So they almost feel as if they need to pick up the points. They need to chalk up the victories now in their home stadium to ensure that smoother run-in.
And I'm sure the reverse game of this fixture will be a very different affair, and that will be very, very rowdy. Bali away is not an easy game for any opponent to go. That stadium is rocking with Bali fans. So very, very different from the setup we're seeing tonight.
Ricky Barge into Rahmat to Ricky. Kane, though, is disturbed enough in order to not have an easy clearance in the end.
Ricky's a young player, like you said, a one-team player, but broke into the first team probably 2 seasons ago. Has been in the national team, is a national team player week in, week out. He's done very well for himself. And he's got a great attitude, wants to learn, wants to get better.
Tạm gác qua những giây phút căng thẳng trong trận đấu này, chúng tôi xin trân trọng giới thiệu đến các bạn FB88.tv. Đây là trang nhà cái đến từ châu Âu, có kèo ăn cao nhất trên thị trường hiện nay, đang được đông đảo anh em hâm mộ bóng đá tại Việt Nam lựa chọn và tham gia đặt cược. FB88.tv đảm bảo uy tín tuyệt đối dành cho anh em. Nạp và rút tiền trực tiếp về thẻ ngân hàng trong khoảng 5 đến 10 phút. Hãy nhanh tay đặt cược tại link FB88.tv.
Shut everything up and kept the key somewhere, which the Ceres players just cannot find it. And that's the reason why everything's always going backwards, recycled. And it breaks down right about here. But Protera has found its way through. Spectacular in the end. Might have done better, Mendy, to leave it for Marinon. Might have been in a better position to take that strike at goal.
Yeah, not sure what he was attempting there. Triple backflip with Pike, I think. Too much difficulty on that dive, I think. Marion frustrated there because he had the easier side volley.
Well, I guess that's what the game needs at the moment. That's a little flash of brilliance from Protera. So that's twinkle toes, getting him dancing clear of next defender. We haven't seen enough of that individual brilliance from these Ceres players. They certainly are very capable of it. Stefan Trock is certainly one of those. It's a lovely ball dropped behind the defense for Mendy. He's kept that one alive, but this should be easy for Willian. He's made a whole meal out of it. He probably got lucky. He got very lucky.
He's making sure everybody knows he's got clipped there, but I tell you what, if he's that hurt, he shouldn't be talking to the referee. He's got out of jail there, absolutely got out of jail. Lets this bounce, very casual, lets it bounce again. He takes a whack, but what centre forward wouldn't put his foot in there to try and take the ball off a delaying centre back?
It's that split decision of indecision. It almost cost Willian.
Comes out of it looking like a hero, but put himself in the situation in the first place.
It's a player who actually got into the Liga 1 Best 11 in 2017. He was playing for Persija Jakarta and played there for his current coach. So I called him back. So he got out of jail in Bali United. Still ensuring that Ceres, after 28 minutes, haven't had a shot yet in this game. That is almost unprecedented.
Well, Bali will be very happy with that. Defensively, they look sound. They've not allowed space between the lines. And they've done very well to shut down in wide areas, stopping guys like OJ and Marion getting on the ball in wide areas, hurting them.
Lerby, who has been very industrious, despite being almost isolated up front. He hasn't given up a chase of any sort at all. Muller had to make sure it was his. He did.
Not to jump outside the box, they had to stop himself, didn't he?
Schrock well, we know that he's going to be drifting in his space, and he's one of those players that is almost impossible to stop. He's got a whole hub of creativity in him. Just haven't seen it yet.
Well, it has a feeling of two heavyweights just sparring with each other at the minute, isn't it? They're kind of probing and feeling things out without actually doing too much. Possibly more concerned about conceding a goal rather than actually going forward and trying to score.
Speaking of which, every player except Roland Muller inside the Bali half right now. Still fine. No lift off, no break clear. Odawara trying to curl it into space. That was a very interesting ball. The goalkeeper was forced to come out. He had to be very decisive, which he was in the end. Fahmy couldn't protect the ball.
A little bit of naivety there, not playing out too quickly. Shockey is certainly not going to let him have time on the ball in his own half.
Mendy just drilled it in, looking for Marianon, who had made the run just to peel himself and make sure he velcroed himself onto Willian. Schrock tried to wriggle clear, which he couldn't. Odawara side by side with him, and yet again, it's a very tight defensive line is forcing them to go backwards. Rebuild, recycle, rinse, repeat. And still no way through. It's job done for Bali. It's a side of Bali that we haven't seen before in this competition. It's a side searching for their first away win in the AFC Cup.
Well, it was a shock, that result last week. Losing 2 goals, okay, away from home, but still conceding 2 goals, that's not something they would be expecting to do. And I know Coach Teko personally, he's certainly never happy when he concedes a goal. Would much rather, 1-0 is his favourite. That's his favourite result, is 1-0. A coach that focuses a lot on defence.
Finally, there was a ball put in behind the defence. Marianon is claiming that he was clipped inside the penalty box. Willian will of course claim innocence. And finally Minegeshi has got some space to drill this one in.
Ricky very casually just putting it past the top corner.
The referee just coming in between. Just a little spiffle of a quarrel from Marianon and Willian Pacheco. The size of the two, almost a basketballer and gymnast meeting on the football pitch, and they've still continued their arguments as Otta prepares to take this corner for Ceres. Lofted very, very high, too high. Super couldn't do anything with it at all. That's a disappointing delivery.
Yeah, expect better from someone like Maniot. Only a very good deliverer of a dead ball. Argument still going on between Marion and Pacheco.
Ricky Fadrin totally misjudged the fight of ball Minegeshi, but he got away with it. Alayubi also followed him to attack a high ball, which none of them looks at all favoured to win. Villanueva, it's a little corridor of doubt. It's almost trapped himself into. He picks it up to find Super. Once again, those two centre-backs invited to come into enemy territory to impact matters of which they haven't been able to do so, especially that guy on the pitch right now, Schrock Odawara. Schrock's asking for it, Schrock gets it.
Clever little ball. Just a little drag back and then clipped over the top of the wide midfielder. Into the feet of Mendy. He does operate at a different level sometimes, Stefan Schrock. I mean, he's coveted by so many different coaches and managers of so many different clubs who would love to have him play. But he is quite comfortable. He's just won an award as Mr. Football in the Philippines. He was awarded by some fans and media as the best player in the country currently. I would suspect only because Phil Younghusband has stepped down.
Some might say that he is also gunning for that award as best player in Southeast Asia, of which he was in the best 11 last year. Minegeshi looking for the angle for the cross, digs it up somehow. Ricky Fadrin got a little lucky there. But, you'd have to say good enough defending to prevent the corner.
Important role being played by Nuri at the minute. He's sitting just in front of those two centre-backs, just plugging that hole. That's a hole that Ceres love to attack. They love to drift in there from either side. Marion on one side, Schrock coming in. Mendy dropping into that hole as well, just in behind the defence and in front of the midfield. Very, very dangerous area, but Nuri doing a really good job of just sitting there and marshalling it, not giving anyone any time.
They go all the way back to the goalkeeper, Nadeo. Scuffs a very easy clearance, and it's kept alive at the end by Rahmat, who has gone across to the other side of the pitch. Actually, Lily Pali, who came back to help out Gavin Kwan. It was a clearance more than a pass, with Mendy bearing down on him. Runner on the outside once again is Minagishi, always the outlet for Ceres down the left flank. Just been prevented from really going to attack the byline, which he's very passionate about, but just can't do it here. It's the wingers who usually are flying, moving forward. Rahmat and Fahmi Al-Ayoubi, who've done a brilliant job defensively. They have stayed very disciplined instead of just flying forward and trying to get goals. They have helped out their fullbacks as much as possible. Stefan Schrock with some space now, and this spells danger. Oh, he's glided past a couple of challenges. Straight at the goalkeeper, spilt it! That's the opening goal. They look for the offside. They're not going to get it, and it's OJ Proteria who scores his 10th in the AFC Cup. It's their first shot on target, and it was spilled by the goalkeeper, and Proteria punishes Bali United for 1-0 Ceres.
We just talked about how important that part of the pitch is, just in front of the two centre-backs and behind the two midfielders. And Stefan Schrock just ghosting past one player, draws out two. Everybody's trying to stop him, even OJ free. Lashes the ball in the back of the net. Quick look across to make sure he's onside. He drifts into that hole. It's such an important position, and Schrock is so good at utilising it.
Should the goalkeeper have done better, Simon?
No, I don't think so. I think from there, OJ's put everything he's got behind that and hit it as hard as he can. If he gets a hand on it, even then, there's so much power on it. He's taken it past him before he's moved.
That first save, we'll have a look at it again. I'm sure that we'll do that during halftime, of which Simon's going to join the boys in the studio to dissect that goal. But all of a sudden, that Bali defense, which was so solid and so tight, just fell apart as Stefan Schrock just took them on a wanderlust. And that walked right through the heart of the defense. Well, he scored a goal on his debut in this competition. That was 29 games ago, and he hasn't scored since. Stefan Schrock. We don't need him to score the number of times he's impacted the games with assists and shots like those that set up goals. And Proteria's got his second of this year's competition.
Well, it changes the face of the game for Bali now. They were sitting quite deep in defending. They're going to have to go a little bit higher to get something out of this game. They need a goal now. Won't be happy to go home with a loss. So we're going to have to step higher up the pitch. Maybe open up a little bit of space that they wouldn't have done if the score was still 0-0.
And they'll have to do it without their leading goal scorer, Platier. And their leading scorer in this competition is Basijevic. Both of them left back home, nursing injuries and illness.
Well, they very much are guys who put the ball in the back of the net. Their movement is very good. Spasso is a big, strong boy, great in the air. He always gets his goals. Melvin, a proven goal scorer in Europe, came to Indonesia and just carried on. Just did what he does exactly what he says on the tin, puts the ball in the back of the net. The main player I think they're missing right now is Paulo Sergio. Paulo Sergio is a player who can create. He's the Stefan Schrock for Bali. He can drift past players and just play a clever little ball in. And they're certainly missing that little bit of creativity at the minute.
Proteria, once again now, he's found that little gap in the centre of defence and that midfield, which isn't protecting the defence as much as it was in the opening 30 minutes of this game. That cross easily dealt with by Nadeo. Well done by Kane to win it back, and then the goal scorer just ran out of room, ran out of property for Porteria. Well, they haven't scored a goal in the first half in the AFC Cup this year. Bali United trying to eat back into this, but of course they were trailing in the first match by a goal to nil before scoring 4 second-half goals. It's against the 10 men of the Vietnamese side, Quang Ninh. For the third match in a row, they've conceded, and they've conceded in the first half all their goals.
Bali being drawn out now to a left fullback position, chasing his man in. That's how much Ceres move players around. So looking to recover back into midfield and allow Ricky to just drop into that position. But yet more of the same from Ceres, just keeping the ball, stroking it around confidently, just trying to draw Bali out and create that opening.
Super couple of space that he has right in front of him to step into. He decides to give the responsibility to Ott. Goes square to Odawara. Finally, an injection of pace with that ball played out by Marinon, who's gone in behind the defense, and it's well watched this time. And it's fallen the way of Marinon once again. Still Marinon, easily skipping past one, not the other. That was enterprising enough from the Spaniard. If there's anyone who is born to play in this competition, it's Marinon, isn't it?
Chỉ còn hơn 10 phút nữa thôi, trận đấu sẽ bước vào giờ nghỉ giải lao. Và trước khi tạm biệt anh em, chúng tôi xin trân trọng được giới thiệu một website đặt cược bóng đá phải nói là cực kỳ uy tín hiện nay. Đó chính là fb88.tv. Hiện tại đang có chương trình khuyến mãi lên tới 2 triệu đồng dành cho thành viên mới. Hoàn toàn hợp pháp, an toàn, nạp rút cực nhanh. Nhấn mạnh là không đâu bằng. Hãy nhanh tay truy cập fb88.tv để nhận ngay những ưu đãi tuyệt vời này.
It's very much like what it was in the first game against Piakan Reach, where he was very quiet and all of a sudden he just sprung to life with 2 goals, just like that. And he's gone inside the penalty box, hunting yet again. And one's gone beyond him, it's gone to Mendy. Topamon, who is just getting into a bind with Mendy, who is asking for obstruction and a penalty from the referee. It's not forthcoming, and it's well done indeed by Lerby to actually ease the pressure a bit and winning that free kick against Villanueva.
Yeah, it's difficult for Lerby. Lerby's, I think if he was given more of an opportunity to start regular games, he was at Borneo before. This is the first time he's come across to Bali, so he's left what was his hometown club. But obviously, with the way football is going, a lot of teams playing 4-3-3 in Indonesia. That lead striker is normally is a foreign player. They put a lot of money into buying that good foreign player who puts the ball in the back of the net, so it means Lerby's always coming off the bench. Again, Spasso would be starting tonight if he was fit. Lerby would be the backup striker, but that's been very much the case for the last 2 or 3 years, and it does have an effect then on the national team. Who do you then pick when most of the time strikers are foreigners? It makes it very difficult.
Well, the answer is you pick Spasso.
Yes.
You neutralised him.
Well, Spasso is a very good player, but you have to play to Spasso. He does a very specific job, and he does that job very, very well, and that's why he does well for Bali. If he doesn't have players on his wavelength, then it kind of defeats the object a little bit. But make no mistake, you give him the ball, he can score goals, but you have to give it the way he wants it.
So 3.5 minutes remaining in this first half, and Ricky Fadrin's latest effort, only the second up by Bali. Both have gone not so handsomely wide. It's by Ricky Fadrin as well as Stefano Lillipali. Haven't been able to infiltrate this Ceres defence despite the flying wingers. One of the reasons because the flying wingers have been actually tracking defenders in this game. So now they might have to come out of their shells, especially chasing this 1-goal deficit. Mendy trying to look for the angle to pull the trigger, but failed to do so. Good enough defending by Gavin Kwan. Amial Yubi takes over. Kwan keeps it in play. Referee might pull it back for a free kick. Doesn't. Minagishi happy to go all the way back to Muller. He's just had kicking practice in this match.
Bali looking a little bit naive up top, if I'm being bluntly honest. You know, they probably handball there, I think, from that point, trying to bring that down. Just starved of a little bit of creativity up front. They're going to need a little bit of something to get out of the pressure that Ceres are putting on them every time they receive the ball back. But without their usual stars in there, they're just looking a little bit weak. lacking in ideas, maybe.
Super is a very comfortable blend back into the team game. It's 25th in this competition. Here is Villanueva. Some room available now for the goal scorer, Poteria. Right in front of him, Mendy has decided to peel the defenders outside and take away the centre-back, which is Willian. But there wasn't much other movement.
Shoki now appearing on the right-hand side because OJ's gone inside. That's, again, one of the features of this game. Look how far the fullback is up on the far side. Pica really pressuring himself, and there's the ball over the top trying to find him. It's a feature of their game that really few teams can match.
Minagishi really prefers it on his right boots, but didn't really fancy that cross into the box with only two available in there against a very tall Brazilian in Willian Pacheco. A chance for the breakout right now if they play this ball right. Lerby inviting Rahmat to run onto it.
Yep. Unable to get past Super there. He's doing a lot of running, but most of it defensively, trying to close down space, and not really enough of it with the ball and trying to get higher up the pitch.
Tupac really needing that to concede that free kick that time. Drawing the player out back into his own half already, and acres of space behind him for a centre-back to do the needful in terms of the clearance.
Must be cold in the Philippines. Super's got tights on.
Here's Dennis Villanueva back to Super. Those two centre-backs have probably touched the ball more than any other player on the football pitch in this first half, which tells you the full story of how deep Bali have been defending, and how they've invited those two centre-backs forward. But haven't really been creating enough. That ball from Fami wasn't a very good one. Super just managed to just touch it before Lillipali could get control of it. One added minute at the end of this first 45. And from an advantageous position, they've totally lost the impetus of the attack. And they had to concede the free kick.
Yellow card there. Probably given the flow of the game. Yeah, Manny's just making sure he does. He's got the yellow card now, Manny. We can get up.
He was probably frustrated with giving away the pass in the first place, and that was pretty cynical, wasn't it, from Halayubi?
Well, I seem to remember Manny doing exactly the same to him as he was breaking for Manny's yellow card, so yeah, Manny's not one to forget that. I don't think Manny can have too many complaints when he does the same thing to him after 5 minutes.
So those yellow cards have come in that pack over there on that flank. Manny, Fami and Minagishi, all in the referee's books.
Yeah. Manny on Fami, Fami on Manny. That's a tongue twister for you. That's how the yellow cards come about.
So surely this will be the last piece of action in the first 45 minutes, which has been devoid of action. Ceres trying to end this half in a flourish, and they failed to do so. This ball's been put out of play, and that will be the end of the first 45 minutes, where there has been very little in terms of action, goal-mouth action. A couple of shots from Bali United which went wide. Ceres with one real chance at goal really, and it was 1-0 after that strike by Stefan Schrock was pushed aside by the goalkeeper, but pushed into the path of OJ Proteria, who scored his second in as many games in the AFC Cup.
Is counting out
conceding it. It has a real feel of two big heavyweights fighting each other.
Yeah, I got the same sense. It was a little bit strange, wasn't it? The way it sort of panned out in that first half. You know, we were expecting nice, good open play, but I guess we also asked for a lot more compactness from Bali, and that's what we've gotten in that first half, at least for the most part.
Yeah, not quite what we had imagined in that first half, as our two pundits were alluding to. In the pre-show, we were talking about the way that Ceres-Negros have nice link-up play between the lines with the likes of Ott, Marignon, Schrock, and yet in this first half they've been unable to do that, and they've had to resort to long crosses into the box instead, which have been ineffective on the whole, Roshan.
Yeah, no, because of how compact Bali United are, Simon, it's very difficult for Ceres to actually play through the middle and having to go out to the wider areas, and they're not being able to put in the necessary quality of get the bodies into the box that they want to.
No, I think Nuri's done a very good job of just protecting that hole. They know that that's a dangerous area, and they know that Ceres come through there quite often. I think, quite rightly, there's been a lot of crosses in the game coming in from wide areas because of how Bali have set about themselves, how Teko has set the team out. They know to protect that area, and it proves itself by the one time that Schrock gets into that area, it causes a big threat, gets a shot on, and OJ opens the scoring.
Yeah, Bali have been defending very deep in this one, but is that the way that they should be playing the rest of the match, considering what's at stake, Russia?
Well, no, they've got to, obviously, in the second half, they have to take a few more risks. They've got to gamble here. The difficulty for me is, you know, when you look at the personnel, and obviously when you think of the profile of players that aren't available to them, you know, that makes a huge difference. So it's going to be a tough one. I mean, Simon, they've got to open up, but then with them Ceres sort of scoring that goal now, it suits them perfectly, doesn't it? There'll be more spaces for them to sort of go and exploit.
Ceres will be able to play their game that little bit more now. So it's imperative that Bali get at them, close that space down, take the ball off them. And quite right in that the changes that have been made, you know, it's the more naive, the weaker players that are coming into more attacking areas. They're the guys that are going to have to find the key to unlocking the Ceres defence, and it's something they've not been able to get anywhere near so far.
Yeah, we mentioned that Bali will need to change tactics ahead of the second half, because if we take a look at the average formation for the away side in that first 45, Roshan, what have you noticed, and how can you see them changing things up?
Yeah, I think the first thing we pointed out was Alayubi playing here. We would expect him to be a little bit further up in those positions, Simon, and you know, Lilipali and Fadil Salsu are in those advanced areas. So perhaps it's something they're going to have to look at in the second half. You know, they're nice and compact, nice and deep, but they want to push them a little bit higher in those areas.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you have a player like Schrock on the pitch, Schrock keeps dropping into those areas. You have a player who hasn't played a lot of football at this level, maybe a little bit intimidated. We're playing against a good team. I'm playing against one of the best players in Southeast Asia right now. Drop in his position. Look at the similar player on the other side of the pitch. He's doing a good job staying high, also coming back quite well. Fami on that side with the streak of blonde hair hasn't quite got the balance that Rahmad has. And like you say, they're going to have to adjust that slightly second half.
Yeah, and just in terms of Bali United, we mentioned building up to this match that there's the good side of them and the bad side of them. Two real different faces there, and we've seen that again in the first half.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, when you have a look at this, and I think the game plan was very clear. You know, they're going to defend deep, they're going to be very compact, and you just look at the distances once again. I mean, from central defence up into Lilipali in that area, or Lerby, sorry, in that area at 16 metres. I mean, there's absolutely no space here, Simon, for Ceres to go and exploit. And Schrock, you know, wants to get into those positions. And we're seeing Mendy pulling out wide, we're seeing Schrock in these areas, but they just can't quite get it into him. Now, what's going to be important here for me is they're trying to play into those central areas. So you're going to see Schrock drop off and look to receive in this space. But what's going to happen, you're going to see Leo, because he's free in that area, he knows he's not got a striker to come up against, he can sort of step out into him. Schrock's going to receive in that tight space, immediately Leo's there. Snuffs out the danger, forces a simple sideways pass. Now, the one time they sort of have this lapse in concentration then, Simon, is the time that they get punished. Because when you're sort of playing against that deep sort of block, you need someone who's got that special thing about him, the X factor in terms of his dribbling ability.
And the one person you don't want driving into that area is Stefan Schrock.
Yeah,
that's what he's all about.
And this is what I was talking about. Because of what happens here, you see Stefan Schrock dropping into this area, and Leo can't push on.
Yeah,
because suddenly
Mendy's come inside. He has a threat here. He can't go flying out to try and deal with Schrock. Yeah, quite rightly. Now, Schrock has the time to receive a ball, look up, sees a little bit of space. He's a good player, so when he sees the space, he drives into it, and from there, it's all about his ability.
Yeah. So, you know, the one time they just go to sleep a little bit, and the one time that you get Mendy actually coming into a central area to occupy central defenders, that's when it creates a little bit of space for Stefan Schrock to receive in an area that he likes to receive it in, turns, and you know, he's always got his head on a swivel there, so he's completely aware of the situations and the space that he has ahead of him to sort of go and exploit. Wonderful dribble through the midfield, through the heart of that Bali United defence, and then Porteria gets the reward.
And as Bali look to find a way back into things in the second half, Simon, we mentioned how much they're missing the likes of Spasojevic. Who do they have on the bench that could potentially come on and change things? No one but
slim pickings, unfortunately. I would like to tell you they do have depth, but not when they have 3 or 4 forward. The prime example would have been someone like Irfan Bakhtin. Now, he hasn't played much football in the league. He's a known player, still playing in the national team now, but unfortunately has just moved to PSS Sleman to go and find football. The minute he does, they get an illness. He would be a perfect guy to be bringing off the bench now in this position. But such is football. He's already found another club and has already found football.
All right, plenty for Bali to do then in the second half. Reminder, of course, that only the side who finishes top in Group G is assured qualification through to the next round. So Bali will need to try and salvage some points from the second 45 at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. Second half coming up next. A reminder that Ceres-Negros are currently 1-0 up.
Al Memorial Stadium, where Ceres-Negros are trying to protect their 1-goal lead against Bali, and Bali have got the number 8 Taufik on the pitch already, and that's the only substitution. They've taken out Fadil Sausu, who's usually such a linchpin in the side. When he plays well, Bali play well. That's what happened last year, but they've taken him out. Are you surprised, Simon, with that substitution?
No, they need to mix something up. They need a little change of something. And Taufik, who comes on with a huge amount of experience, he's a tenacious little player. He'll put his foot in, but he can also find a pass going forward. So a little bit more like for like, but probably a little bit better defensively. Just maybe giving them a little bit more of a platform in midfield to be able to build from.
Well, Bali United have scored in all but one match in their AFC history in their previous 8 matches. As I said earlier on in this campaign, 5 goals that they've scored, all coming in the second half. And we are in the second half with Ceres trying to ensure that OJ Poterio's goal stays and maybe even get another one to kill the game off. Bali United have got, in case you've just joined us, the likes of Spasijevic and Platier, their top scorer, left home due to injuries and illnesses. Muller had to watch that one very carefully. They don't have someone in the ilk of Spasijevic actually to challenge him in the box with those high balls.
It'll be interesting to see what Coach Teko does here to mix up this forward line. I think the first half they looked a little bit naive. They looked a little bit struggling for answers to problems posed to them by Ceres. I'd like to see Lillapalli maybe stepping a little bit higher up the pitch. He's one who does have that bit of creativity about him. So maybe a little switch for Fami and bringing someone to replace him in midfield, possibly.
Speaking of the captain, Lillapalli, it's just taken a real knock by Super. Whenever you get into the path of the Spaniard, they usually come out second best, and they're claiming that an elbow was used here, Simon.
Yeah, probably more for leverage. I don't think Lillapalli quite got to the height, so he's a little bit smaller. I don't see really anything malicious in that. I'm afraid being bullied into giving that one, I have a suspicion there.
It's the
super unhappy with that one.
Yeah, third yellow card for Ceres in this match.
Endless jokes you can make with his name, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Super defender, super in the air. Maybe knocked a little bit of life into Lillapalli here.
Which is exactly what Bali need. That stalwart of yours just to come to life a little bit.
Sloppy from Pacheco there. I'm not going to get back into the game against a team like Ceres passing the ball off the pitch.
Mohamed Rahmat trying to add to the 2 goals that he's already scored this season. And Levy is complaining that he was blocked off by Villanueva. The referee says that's fine. Play on. Super, fresh from receiving his yellow card, will pump this one long, hoping that Stefan Schrock and Gang and Marinon do something about it. Marinon, once again, once the ball gets to him, it's like he's got beanbags for feet. Just sticks onto it. Absolutely brilliant. And here's Mendy. Well, he got lucky there, lost control of the ball and won it back, and Gavin Kwan was just tricked into doing that. Just baited into it. Kwan trying to clear it first time, but Mendy's won the free kick for Ceres. Well, whoever scores next, you feel, Simon, it's going to be really important, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
think if it's Ceres, I don't see Bali coming back from it. But you know, if Bali can find an equaliser, then it's game on. Certainly capable of it. But they need to get at the defence more. They need to be able to link passes together. And the first half, they really weren't able to do that. In under 30% possession, that's very, very difficult.
Schrock, reel up and under once again, asking questions of Nadeo, who actually clutched that one quite superbly. Just plucked it out of the air effortlessly. At least made it look that way. This clever ball playing down the lines for Lerby. The ball played in behind the pens, looking for Lillapalli. So asked a little question of Villanueva. Got away with it fine. Ott trying to dink it into space, and that is a super ball looking for Mendy.
Great first touch.
Just as good. Mendy's gone clear.
Second touch killed him, but the first touch was superb. Took it straight past the defender in one touch.
Nadeo, fortunate enough, his eagerness to try to get a shot underway. He's killed him then. The ball played in behind the defence, and Sean Kane just got there in time. Had to.
The game's certainly opening up a little bit now. Bali not staying so compact in defence, prepared to go higher up the pitch. And Ceres responding also.
Well, this is very much like the Bali that we know. All hands to the pump, willing to just attack at you at 100 miles an hour. Get those players running at you. Speaking of running, they do have Yanis on the bench. Yapes Roni. who's not a natural finisher, but it certainly will trouble any sort of defense with his pace.
Yeah, I know Coach Teko likes him. I'd be expecting to see him introduced at some point. Someone who can get behind fullbacks and really is an avid runner. Powerful boy as well. In fact, the reason why Paolo's not playing today, incidentally, likes to put himself about, is quite physical, and I think Paolo felt the brunt of that in training, and in which case he's not here today, much to his frustration.
Pacheco was stepping in on time. We thought that he was going to be whistled for foul then, Rahmat, but he was robbed pretty easily. Had his pocket picked, but he couldn't take full advantage of it as Taufik now loses the ball in midfield. Marinon trying to look for the angle to pull the trigger, failed to do so. Pacheco did well enough. Fahmi Alayubi. Ball that was played into space, giving Lily Pali no chance at all against Super. Was stuck to him like glue and done extremely well against Lily Pali. Has had no change at all from Herrera, Super Herrera. Oh, that's very naive from Pacheco. Chance to run in at goal. He's got to watch his challenge right now. Is that a penalty? It is. Just as you say that, Pacheco's got to watch. He's got to watch. And the next thing you know, you could almost see Stefan Schrock actually waiting for it to happen. And the moment it did, Schrock just gleefully went down, and it's a spot kick.
Watch this one very carefully. I think he gets the ball. Looking at that, he gets the ball. There must be contact from his upper body that knocks Schrock over, but certainly his foot gets the ball. I did say this early on about Pacheco. He runs the line very close to being yellow carded to red carded, to giving penalties away. I think Schrock just explained to Lillipali there that as he's on the move, any sort of touch, and unfortunately it's going to knock him off, but Pacheco's certainly not happy about it.
You could almost see it unfolding in slow motion. Schrock just waiting for any sort of contact. Pacheco screaming for Topumahu to actually come across and help him out, of which Schrock just had a little walk in the park inside the 6-yard box, inside the penalty box. In a moment, Pacheco stuck his leg out, and Schrock was more than happy to go down. And here is Marinon, who scored in the last game from the penalty spot, hoping to score his 4th in this year's competition, and this will be goal number 34 in his AFC Cup campaign, in his 37th game. Bienvenido Marinon. He and the name AFC Cup just go hand in hand. Word association, Marinon, you say the name AFC Cup, and it's goal yet again for Vidakovic. And it's 2-0, and it might just be game over even at this early stage.
Well, it's sloppy from Bali. Now Pacheco's got caught wrong side. He's dived in and tried to steal the ball, and against someone like Schrock, as soon as Schrock gets in behind you, he's smart enough to know that any touch from a defender is going to fall forward, in which case you don't need to pass the ball, you just need to drive straight to defence. And it's of their own doing. Bali, they can have an argument about the award of the penalty, but they're in that situation because of bad defending. So ultimately, very frustrating for Coach Teko on the sideline there.
Vidakovic, the Bosnian coach of Ceres, on his way to winning his 85th game in charge of Ceres-Negros. And remember, the next 3 games in the second half of this campaign, all away from home, so it's imperative that they get their home victories, of which they couldn't the last time out, despite winning by 2-1. They conceded a goal to draw 2-2 with Hwang Ninh. Now can they hold on to this 2-0 lead? Defense really didn't cover themselves in glory in that last game against the Vietnamese side, but a lot tighter against a less adventurous Bali team. Pacheco losing out in the air to Mendy. That's a mistake by Topumahu. Chance for Schrock once again to run clear. Schrock.
Good save in the end, but Pacheco standing still as Schrock runs past him. You just can't do that as a centre-back. Not with someone like Stefan Schrock on the ball. That's, yet again, poor defending. Not reacting to the situation. Fortunately, Leo did. Leo back there still making Schrocky work for it, and that's a really good save. But again, this should have been dealt with.
Well, with our two defensive midfielders actually being a lot more adventurous in the second half, Stefan Schrock's starting to enjoy his football on this pitch now. He's been given a lot of space in the second half, which he found at a premium in the first. And it's hurting Bali. Mateo, not too convincing with that. Goes out for another corner.
Bali looking a little bit rocked at the minute. I think that goal hit them quite hard. Just need to pick themselves up again.
Ball inside the box, which is easily defended. There might be a break on here. If they play that right, Fahmy couldn't get at the end of it. And there was enough pressure by the Ceres players as Bali were trying to break out. Taufik back to Ricky Fajrin. Pacheco available. Topomahu side by side with him and uses him. Oh, it's a dangerous ball. Didn't even want it. And he's given it to him. Gavin Kwan didn't appreciate it. Stefan Schrock yet again. He goes down inside. And Schrock was waiting for any sort of contact. It didn't come, didn't appear. Pacheco usually eats those up when it's high up in the air like that. Minagishi knows that most of the players are still inside the penalty box, so tried a cross which was ineffective in the end. Once again,
Ceres winning the ball back again. It's sloppy from Bali.
Ott protected it well enough. Odawara.
That is the advantage of being able to press and press effectively. It just means that even when Bali do win the ball back, you're 5 yards away from the player. Instead of dropping back immediately, they just step forward. They go even harder. So Pep Guardiola always was a big advocate of pressing high, trying to get ball retention. Ceres doing that very effectively right now, just snuffing out any sort of threat that Bali has, not even allowing them to play comfortable passes through the back.
Muller looking long. Easily defended by Ricky Fajrin. Here's Minagishi. Fahmy's really stuck to his task and stuck to the left full back, preventing him from moving forward. But it's come at the expense of Fahmy's very own offensive arsenal, which hasn't been on display at all. Schrock yet again available and winning and pinching the ball away. That's a very clever ball. That's played inside to Mendy, who's kept it alive to Marinon. Topomahu blocking his path towards goal. Pacheco taking an age to clear it. Bali themselves taking an age to clear it. They finally do, and it's going to come right back at them. It's all Ceres at the moment. Odawara combining with Mendy, who's gone clear of Gavin Kwan. Took a very hefty knock. The referee says that's okay.
Well, Ceres, it looks like Ceres have just shifted up into a fifth gear that really Bali can't match right now. They're a couple of yards behind them.
Well, that's the referee given here. It looked as if it was free kick. Came late on the trailing leg of Mendy, but the referee says there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, says a lot. Came off Gavin Kwan. It's going to be a corner for Ceres, who haven't really taken advantage of their corner situations or most of their dead ball situations in this game. Let's see if Maniat can do something with this. Yet again, he goes very deep, and Pacheco is right there. Touch too heavy by Taufik. Schrock almost invited a once again run at the defense, blocked off by Taufik. Yet again, referee saw nothing wrong with that.
It's not a foul there. Schrocky knows exactly what he's doing.
Once again,
Yet again, top of the box, Bali just giving the ball away. A little simple 1-2.
Odawara is kept in play. Stefan Schrock still down. And they couldn't score. Mendy tried to roll the ball into the back of the net. Nadeo protected his near post. Super. With a very heavy touch. And Schrock's still down, is he? That's the reason why they've put the ball out. This might be worrying moments for Ceres if Schrock stays down.
It's interesting that Ceres players are getting angry that the ball wasn't being put out, yet they were quite happy to play on and try and score. You can't have both. If the ball goes out, will you score?
Just had the wind taken out of him, Stefan Schrock, more than anything else. Well, he had a very quiet first 30 minutes of this game, and then all of a sudden he comes to life, and you just see flashes of yellow all around you because you can't pick him out. And in the second half especially, he's been pinching the balls high up. He's been just gliding around those central defenders, the likes of Pacheco. It's a nightmare to deal with, isn't he, Stefan Schrock?
Yeah, he's an exceptional talent. There's no way around that. He's a hell of a player to try and play against, and you really have to set up the team to stop Schrocky. You know, I've had the pleasure of doing that for 2 years when he was at Ceres and I was head coach of Loyola Moralco, and it's a hell of a task. It really is, because you keep him quiet and you're quite successful, and then Marion comes alive. Or if you keep Marion and Schrocky alive, you know, quiet, then one of the other, but Maniot steps up and has an incredible game. So this is the difficulty with playing with Ceres. They're a team full of very, very experienced players. Every local player with a Filipino passport in that team has played for the national team or is a national team player. And it was a recruiting decision from the bosses of Ceres. They just go after the national team players. They want all the national team players playing for Ceres. When Roland Muller broke into the Azkals, all of a sudden he signs for Ceres. Good money, leaving the Swiss league to come and play, so he would play regularly in the national team. It's worked out very well for them, and it gives them an incredibly strong squad of players.
That is goalkeeper who hits it long once again, looking for Marinon. This time Villanueva had to step in after Kane lost the flight of the ball. It's done well so far. Dennis Villanueva slotting into that centre-back position, despite the fact that he can play at left-back as well. And they're into a more defensive stance. He usually does go over there. And Minagishi just stepping forward into that left winger's position, which is being occupied at the moment by Mendy. Schrock's come back on and showed a lot of interest in the ball. Fami just got away with it. Gavin Kwan. Oh, offside. A little lazy then on the part of Lily Pali.
They've got to change something, Bali. Whatever they're doing right now is not working for them. And if it's committing to more players forward, if it's going to a 4-3-3, what they're doing right now is not putting enough pressure on Ceres. Ceres having quite an easy time of it in the second half so far. Just little errors being made by Bali.
I can tell you that Quang Minh of Vietnam have recorded their first victory of the AFC Cup in Group G. They are winning in extra time against Prakan Reach Sparang by 4-1 in Cambodia. So this group almost very much wide open, with Ceres in the driver's seat if the results remains. And Bali United with a lot of catching up to do in the second half of the group stages in Group G.
Well, we said earlier it will be a very different game, the reverse fixture. Ceres coming to... It's a fairly obvious free kick in the middle of the pitch. And you're just having a little chat with him. And we're having a chat back. Two very, very good midfielders. Both appreciating each other, I'm sure. Marion getting involved as well, doesn't need to. But I think the reverse fixture, we said earlier that the Bali Stadium, Dipta will be bouncing. They'll be looking forward to getting Ceres on home turf. That's 2 games in a row now. They've had to play on plastic, and 2 games in a row. It looks like if this is seen out, that they'll have not taken points. So they'll be very keen to get back on grass.
And, I believe it will be played in the afternoon as well. The Indonesian matches, of course, in the AFC Cup, most of them, you don't want to be at Bali with the fans. It's hot and humid as the weather in itself. Fahmy lost the flights of the ball. The moment it bounces on this pitch, it's very hard and difficult to deal with. Muller dealt with it all right with that up and under. Tupomohu. Ball inside and yet again misjudged. Proteria trying to come away with it. Ricky Martin just did enough physically to put him off. Nori into space now for Lillipali. Another disappointing ball slid into space for Alayubi.
See, I think there's an example of where players are used to playing on grass, and on plastic, that ball just runs off the pitch. You know, it's very different. Switching from grass to plastic to grass to plastic, it's a very different game. The ball moves differently, it holds up differently, it runs differently, and it's a different pressure on the body as well. You know, turning, there's a lot of friction caused on plastic pitches, which make playing on plastic pitches quite hard work. And Rizal is a massive pitch. It's a good level plastic pitch, but it is very big, and it just sucks the life out of you. He played many a game. He's throwing himself into attack. He played many a game on this pitch, and it does just suck the energy from players.
Lillipali fancied the cross and then decided against it because it was only Lerby inside the penalty box lurking. Nori did well enough to keep possession of the ball and then win the free kick, which was needlessly given away by Mendy. Nori was just running into a cul-de-sac more than anything else. Odawara was also being involved there. He was helping Mendy out. So it's a free kick to Bali. Little push. And it's free kick quickly taken. Into space, finding Proteria. Scored the opening goal, of course, Proteria. After a shot was spilled by the goalkeeper, taken by Stefan Schrock, and then Schrock himself clipped to the penalty box for 2-0 from the spots by Marinon. Naturally, in the AFC Cup, getting his customary goal. And Ceres lead by 2-0. I think it's the next step that they need, having come so close already in the ASEAN zone stages. Actually, just to win it in the ASEAN zone. Here is Stefan Schrock. Once again, trying to take them on. Little nutmeg on Tupomohu, who is watching it all the way, and it's going to be a corner to Ceres. Still feeling the effects of that shoulder charge on him by Taufik. Well, the league hasn't started yet, so he'll be happy to leave his starting 11 on. And that's going to be an easy goal. Defense all at sea. Marinon, just as it was in the first game, so very quiet in that first half, and all of a sudden in the second half he's come to life and he's gotten his brace.
That's very poor, very poor from Bali. One of the smallest players on the pitch wins a header direct from a set piece. Rahmat marking him, not known for his defensive capabilities, but got to be doing better than that. Relentless move off the ball, but even so, that's very disappointing from a Bali's point of view, but kills the game off, and really should be game, set and match Ceres now. I think we'll see a lot of keep ball from here on in.
His 35th goal in the AFC Cup for good old Bienvenido.
Well, there's a saying, it's an interesting decision to play Mendy outside and Marion through the middle. Marion responds with 2 goals. Something I think obviously Coach Risto knows very well, that Marion scores goals here, so let's just stick him up there and he's going to score. As it's happened. He's been in the right place at the right time.
Well, if Bali do not watch, this might get very embarrassing for the Indonesians, because Ceres are threatening to run riot now with 20 minutes remaining, and Schrock desperate to get a goal.
Well, just looking at him, you can see how much effort he puts into the game. You know, coming to the latter stages of his career. And here we see Yabez Ronnie being brought on. We had a suspicion that might happen for Fami. Thought it might happen a little bit earlier, but we called that at half-time. Fami's not really been able to get involved in the game. This is a new standard for him. He's not played at this level before, and certainly not against a team like Ceres.
Maniard corner taking duties. All his corners have gone very deep. Should have been buried by Mendy. He just couldn't wrap his foot over the ball.
Well, Bali have dropped. That's a ball lost at the back post. It should really be won. Defenders just standing watching. Bali have got to respond. If they're going to get anything out of this, still 19 minutes left. If they can get a goal back, launch some sort of attack, possibly get back to 2. Maybe I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here, but got to change something.
Gavin Kwan finding space with Ronnie's first touch of the ball. Here is Yabez Ronnie. Mighty quick. Trying to impact the game in the best possible way by asking some questions of Metagishi, a defender who can be had when you run at him. The problem is that Alayumi before him didn't even do that at all. Hooked ball inside by Gavin Kwan, easily cleared away, and here's Marianon. It's just bullied aside. The referee's allowed play to go on. Here comes Yabez Ronnie again. He's hanging it a long time in the air, nobody showing any sort of interest to attack it, so goalkeeper had a very easy catch. Well, you got to go back to the 13th of March 2018 for the last time, and the only other time that Bali United failed to score in this competition against Tanhua. And they've got 18 minutes to keep the flame burning here as they rage against the dying of the light. Mendy, space to run on into. You knew he was going to take the shot, and goalkeeper didn't get anywhere near it. And Lopez Mendy has put this game beyond the reach of Bali United, beyond the reach of Nadeo.
Well, as you said, this is starting to get embarrassing now. Pacheco has had a half that he would just want to forget. Gives the ball away fairly straightforward. The ball's played straight in behind him. And it's a great finish from Mendy. There's only one place he can put the ball, and he puts it on a postage stamp. It's an excellent finish. But that is what he is all about. Certainly not the most talented player in the Ceres lineup, but direct and finishing, he's been doing that for years. That's why he's got such a big smile on his face. That's his bread and butter.
Well, he scored their opening goal of 2020. He played against Shan United in the qualifiers for the Asian Champions League and scored the opening goal in that game. And here he is, probably the nail in the coffin in this game. Another 4-0 victory for Ceres, just as it was in the opening match.
Bali really struggling here. It's a difficult one to swallow, this one, for the Bali players. They know they've got players missing, but even so, you need your big players to step up in games like this. And the first half was a tight affair. There wasn't, all right, 27% possession for Bali. Ceres really turning the screw on them in the second half, though, stepping up and absolutely punishing every mistake that's being made. And Pacheco just can't find a white shirt right now. He's given the ball away 3 or 4 times straight to Ceres players. And at this level, against a team like Ceres, one mistake, and they will put you to the sword, as they have done very, very well against this Bali outfit.
It will be Bali's biggest defeat in the AFC Cup. For Ceres, of course, they did win 9-0 against Boinket back in 2018. But, this is more like the Ceres that we know of, and not the sloppy Ceres had produced a second half performance against Quang Ninh, where the defense was all at sea in that game. This is more like the fluid, flowing Ceres football that the AFC Cup have come to recognize over the last couple of years. Ricky Fadrin stepping forward, hoping for a consolation goal for Bali. They've got 15 minutes to try to find it. Yabes Roni is interested in the second ball, of which he has one, almost. He will win it now. Space opening up. That's a poor touch to take the ball away from him, and just the impetus of the attack completely lost with just that one touch.
That's the difference, isn't it? As that ball was moved out, there was space for Ahmad to get his head up, touch it in front, and get at the goalkeeper. If that was the other side, if that was Ceres, that's what they're very good at doing. That first touch is always into space. It's very direct. Bali just not being able to match the ability of the powerhouse that is Ceres.
You have to say that Yabes Roni has tried his very best, at least since he's been on the pitch, to make an impact in this game. He's been a lot more cut and thrust from him than it was from Fahmy earlier on.
Kane just asking for time there with what we'll call a gentlemanly injury.
Lily Pali found a teammate at the near post, but it's going to take a very special header from that angle to actually beat Muller.
Well, it is a very strong Ceres side. I mean, all of these players, half of the Filipino players actually have European experience, which for a club team in Southeast Asia is unheard of. This is, synonymous with Ceres football. But they have a definite style about them. I think the last opponents referred to them as the Barcelona of Southeast Asia. And you can see why when they pass the ball the way they do.
Topomohu chased down by Minagishi, who gave them no angle at all to find Yabes Roni. So he just toes it out for a throw to Ceres, trying to put a gloss into the scoreline. Final substitution for Bali as Saimim comes on, take the place of Ruan Nori, who really hasn't enjoyed himself in the second half, especially against Stefan Schrock, who's run rings around him. He's threatening to do so again. And Yanis Robi. Referee just interrupting play for treatment to be meted out to a Ceres player, which is Marinon, who is on a hat-trick, remember. Searching for his first hat-trick in this year's competition. Mendy. Oh. That would have been something special, and he knew it.
Just shaped that beautifully, didn't he? The camera angle allowed just to see the flight of that ball. And a good save from Tadeo. He is a young goalkeeper, and I'm sure that coming away from home on a plastic pitch, he'll be learning a lot from this. Very highly regarded in Indonesia, Tadeo.
Those big men still inside the penalty box waiting for a good delivery. Just rolled under the foot of Odawara. It's gone all the way back to Super. Almost charging forward unopposed. Marinon. This, by the way, the 10th time that he scored at least 2 in a game in the AFC Cup. those accolades keep going on for Bienvenido Marañón.
Josh Gromman being brought on here at centre-back. Good young player, getting more experience as we go. I was lucky enough to coach him when he was 18. Came across from Australian youth team. He was with Brisbane for a little bit, and came into us on his Filipino passport at the time. So he came to us looking to get more football, and was happy to chase his Filipino heritage, and has just gone from strength to strength, really. Seems like the more tattoos he's got, the stronger he's got. So I don't know, maybe that's the secret. More tattoos, he'd be a stronger player. But he's gone from strength to strength now, and he's unlucky not to start this game. Super brought in, I think, just for that little bit more experience against what we expected to be a tough opponent. But yeah, Josh had a year in Thailand, did very, very well there. Played in Malaysia, so has picked up some good experience, and now is really settling into a Ceres team that I think he can do very well in, and will continue playing with the national team as well.
Now that the introductions have been done by Simon, it is the turn of Josh Gromman to actually take the place of Super, the man who stepped into his position at the start of this match. And I guess Super's introduction into the starting 11, Simon, must be the fact that Ceres probably thought that Spasijevic and Platier would probably be playing for Bali. If this lineup from Bali was told beforehand, Gromman probably would have kept his place in the team. As he does have his final 8 minutes in this game. Already a goal in this competition. Remember, the second in that game against Pekan Reach.
Yeah, very good feet for a centre-back, Josh. He's a young lad, but he's actually a very good dribbler with the ball, got good control. And for a centre-back, can quite comfortably play out. Really suits the Ceres mould and the way they play.
Taufik looking for the angle and the space, but it's been shut out straight away. The moment any sort of corridors open up, the doors just close straight away as quickly as it's just been pushed ajar as Proteria comes down and wins a free kick for Ceres. A little kick out here from Bali, who are just letting their frustrations known and taking them out almost on the Ceres players. Still Bali United without a win away from home in this competition. And for Ceres, this is their 40th game, remember. This will be their 20th win in the AFC Cup. And you'd have to say, Simon, that's quite a good record, isn't it? It's a 50% win rate.
It's an excellent record. I mean, there's a combination there of, you know, going to visit Ceres, going to play Ceres away is a very difficult prospect. We talked earlier about how Bacolod is not. It's an island where you go for holiday. It's not a professional football environment, so it's quite difficult to maintain that professional attitude in run-ups to the game. The stadium is quite small. It's quite rowdy with Filipino fans, and then the actual team you're facing is made up with an awful lot of European experience. A lot of these players here all play for the national team, so they get that experience, but they're also coming in with backgrounds from playing in the German First Division, the Bundesliga. I mean, Schrocki was playing up against Bayern Munich not so long ago, so it's testament to the quality that he has. But guys like Dennis Villanueva, Maniot are all coming from decent European leagues with Filipino passports. This is the advantage that holds, being able to hold the two passports. But yeah, Ceres, I can see them dominating for some time to come as well, because domestically there isn't really anyone that can match them. Players, as good an outfit as they are, just don't have the financial clout to be able to go after the players that Ceres can.
Well, another very good shift put in by OJ Proteria, scoring the opening goal of this game in that first half, where they found a breakthrough so hard to come by against a very stubborn and obdurate Bali defense. A little spill by the goalkeeper. It still needed to be finished, and he did the needful. And it's a ready-made replacement, isn't it, Marasigan? And he talks about them having Filipino players in the first 11. It's Filipino players on the bench as well. But how strong and deep this team is, that's going to be handball.
Quite an obvious handball from Mendy there.
What about calm as you like?
Bali just can't get on the ball here now.
Lerby, who's had the quietest of second half. Probably the only thing here that's quieter than the atmosphere. Lerby, Eliandri. It's very unfortunate for the man who scored the winning goal over the weekend against Barito. And has an opportunity now to make that run in behind the defense. He's worked his jewels off in this game, you'd have to say, Simon, but to no effect, because he's just had no support up front at all.
No, I think the players around him, very difficult for a striker, especially a lead striker in a game like this where the team set out defensively. We saw a similar figure cut by Djurkovic last night of Lauteota. We both worked on that game. Both centre forwards putting an absolute shift in, but not getting a huge amount of support from players around them. A little bit of a difficult one for Bali, because they know without sickness and injury they'd have brought a much stronger team to this game. Shock just taking a little bit of offence at that tackle.
He's gone straight to Taufik, almost eyeballing him.
Someone's getting a yellow card, could be Shock.
Well, it's actually Samima. It was gone right through Shock.
Shock picking up a yellow card there, can't quite work it out. Gets kicked, reacts, and he takes a yellow card.
Samima kicks and gets away. So 4 goals, 4 bookings for Ceres. Well, the Shock star still can't believe it. He's just looking around and almost asking not just the bench but also the assistant referee and the 4th official on the bench whether he's got any sort of VAR or looking at the monitors over there. Two minutes remaining. Bali hoping that there won't be a lot of injury time, and Misery will be put out pretty shortly. They'll at least have 2 home matches in the second half of this campaign to really get themselves back up again and hopefully become one of the best runners-up to progress into the next stage. Yabes dipping it into space. Villanueva told to clear by Groman. He does the needful. Marinon, uncharacteristically poor touch from him. Taufik, another Ceres player down with cramps. Bali, of course, with their season up and running in full steam now. 2 matches into a new season. The Filipino League haven't kicked off yet, and maybe that match rustiness still in the Ceres players. It's Sean Kane who has gone down. You know, you've had a look at some teams in the ASEAN zone now, Simon. What do you think Ceres' chances are of winning the ASEAN zone? I guess even if they don't win this competition, but for bragging rights to be the best club in Southeast Asia, they would want to win the ASEAN zone at least in the AFC Cup.
Yeah, there isn't many teams in this region who have not only the strength of experience in the players they have within the squad, but also the threat of home advantage. You know, I've said it before, it's a difficult place to come, so that plays into their favour. And then they have experienced enough players to go away from home and know what it takes to try and win in these places. You know, Stefan Schrock, Marion, all of these guys have all played difficult. Maniot, they all have the experience to go away from home and understand how to play away from home. Not just go gun-ho and try and win the game, maybe a little bit more reserved, maybe keep the ball a little bit more, take less chances. The coach has to give less instruction to more experienced players. And I think that's the secret behind Ceres' success. Difficult to beat at home and experienced when they go away from home. It makes them a very difficult opponent for pretty much anyone in Asia, let alone Southeast Asia.
And do you think that they will have the chance when they're up against the big boys, maybe the North Korean sides and the West Asian sides as well, when they come into play?
Listen, when big teams that are used to playing in front of lots of fans and have great facilities come to Panhard Stadium and play Ceres at home, I don't care who you are, you're going to struggle there. It's a difficult place to come. And we saw that 2 or 3 times. We saw the teams from all over Asia coming in to play them, and we couldn't quite understand how a Philippine club team is able to pull off these results. But when you look at the players and the experience they have, and you go through their individual profiles, you see just how good players these are. And such is the way that Philippine football is, with its dual passport setup. It allows, you know, other teams could do this if they had the finances to be able to do it. But Ceres have very good backing, very football orientated, and they're able to bring in players like Schrock and Muller, who's playing in European leagues, and guys like Maniotta are attracted.
Marinon, maybe still time to get a hat-trick, in which he got 2 last year. And, this will be 5 goals in 3 games now in the 2020 edition of the AFC Cup for Bienvenido Marinon. Well, won by Menegishigi. Here is Schrock. Back to Minagishi. Schrock available and willing. Trying to set up another one. He's already set up a couple already in this match. The shot that was spilled and winning the penalty, and then the corner which was headed into the back of the net by Marinon. It's a fulcrum, and the glue which sticks the Ceres team together. It certainly stitches them. Mistake.
Lerby still full of running. But that threat just snuffed out. It's been a difficult day for Bali.
It's the pitch that actually bounced the ball away from the outreach of Maniot. An opportunity now for a shot at goal, of which they haven't even had one in the second half. Yabes Roni. Still Yabes. Drilled it back. Oh, it was close enough. But Muller will tell you that he had that in control all the time.
Well, he's certainly offered more since he's came on. Fami, I think, found the going a little bit tough. Only a young lad, I'm sure he'll learn a lot, but Yabes looks a little bit more up to the challenge.
All the way back to the goalkeeper. They are taking a lifetime to kick that one. Finally gets it away, but only as far as another Ceres player. Odobaro Edwards picks it up in central midfield. Broiker asking for the ball, hoping to at least get a touch before the referee blows the final whistle. Villanueva back to Grommen. Minagishi, all of a sudden in the second half, so much room for him, which he knocked off in the first. Stefan Schrock yet again dancing away from a couple of challenges. Tried that little Rabona to find Mendy in the penalty box. So Bali United fall to their biggest defeat in the AFC Cup against a Ceres side